So, you want to get into Warhammer 40K? You like the look of all the explosions, edge, and Eldar e-girls, but don't know the difference between one roided out soldier in power armour and another? Well, don't you worry, little fellows. I'm here to give you a quick rundown of the factions that make up the galaxy, giving you a short summary of the things you'd need to know to make a decision on which army you'd build first, or what race you're going to defend until the death online. Before we get started though, I'd like to highlight 3 short things. First, this isn't going to be too much of a serious video, and I'm not going to be able to cover that much information. Second, subscribe, like the video, or I'll eat your firstborn child. And third, I'm not going to be including the sub-factions of the setting like the Adeptus Mechanicus, Harlequins, or Monogod Chaos factions, because otherwise there would be too much to cover and I wouldn't be able to highlight the shortness of this video. Have you got all that? Right, let's get started. First up, it's the Imperium of Man. The Imperium of Man is the most dominant force in the 40k galaxy, and it has been for thousands of years. It's where you can find those massive space marines. Ooh, aren't they shiny? Did you know they can be painted in other colours besides blue? There's only about 1 million of the beefy Astartes in the galaxy at any time though, meaning billions of other troops are required to keep the Imperium alive. Someone else who keeps the Imperium going is its Emperor. Once he was a giant, gorgeous man with luscious locks, but now he's a corpse, kept alive by a big chair where he sits seething that the secular society he created has turned to worshipping him like a god. Humanity has become somewhat of a parody of its former glory over the past 10,000 years in Warhammer 40k, running itself through bureaucracy, fear and dictatorships. But through belief in the Emperor, plenty of people still hold out hope for the Imperium to rise again. Not every human worships the Emperor though, and some really despise him. That brings us on to Chaos, boys and girls. Chaos acts as the major antagonist of the 40k setting, and while people often refer to Chaos as a single entity, rarely is it so united. Usually Chaos consists of crackheads worshipping 4 different gods in the Blood God Khorne, the pestilent grandfather Nurgle, the Prince of Darkness Slaanesh, or the Changer of Ways Tzeentch. Living in Warhammer's alternate dimension known as the Warp, worshippers of Chaos, whether they be human or the demons created by the aforementioned gods, often look like twisted parodies of other forms, like something created straight out of H.P. Lovecraft's dreams. In spite of that, so far the ultimate baddies of Warhammer 40k haven't accomplished too much, but if you want to embrace your inner schizo and let the voices win, the Chaos Gods might just be for you. Speaking of letting the voices in, that's definitely something our third faction do not want to do. The Eldari, or Eldar, are for the people who want to play as the good guys but feel too much like a normie if they build space marines. Like any elven race in fantasy or sci-fi, the Eldari once ruled the galaxy, only finding their 60 million year reign and glorious empire ending due to their own boredom. In a mad amount of sex, drugs and rock and roll, the Eldar managed to create Slaanesh, who immediately ate most of their souls and hungered after the rest. Now, the normal, non-edgy Eldar live out in craft worlds or floating giant cities, keeping their souls in gems so that they never fall to the Dark Prince. With their population dwindling alongside any hope of regaining their former glory, the Eldar are just trying to survive more than do anything else in the galaxy. But that doesn't mean they can't brawl just as well as the other factions. Their psychers are known as some of the strongest in the setting, and any avatar of Cain can go head to head with the strongest force of another faction. On the other side of the space elf coin, the Dark Eldar do not mope about hoping that Slaanesh won't look at them, but instead continue the hedonistic lifestyles that created the Chaos God in the first place. Like their cousins, they also live nomadic lifestyles, but on a Dark Eldar ship, the murder and drugs never stop as they ride around the galaxy like space pirates, raiding and plundering anything they come across. The Dark Eldar do not have the numbers necessarily to take out the Imperium or anything like that, but they cause general havoc across the galaxy, and any person captured in one of their raids is set for a fate worse than death, as they are either tortured in the most horrendous ways imaginable, or turned into hideous creatures used as fodder in the Dark Eldar armies. As much as the Dark Eldar can't offer utter destruction to any other faction, they can deal a lot of damage, with the technology they possess from the old Eldar Empire, and with the might of their giant settlement in the webway known as Comora. No one is getting rid of the Dark Eldar anytime soon. While the Dark Eldar tech is impressive, there is one faction that eclipses all the others in terms of technological prowess, and they are the Necrons. The Necrons are what you get when you cross a Terminator with ancient Egyptians. They've got the oldest empire out of all of 40k, but for the last 60 million years they've been taking a huge nap because even robots need their beauty sleep. Now that they've awoken, the Necrons are storming about the galaxy, zapping people with their green laser guns and finding out about all the hot new trends they've missed out on while they've been asleep. While they have incredible destructive potential, the Necrons haven't actually managed to get much done since returning to the fold, as half the time they're just fighting among themselves. Kind of running out of good segues here, so I guess I'll have to go with, you know who else loves fighting? Orcs. Orcs are cockney mushrooms that have gained sentience. They will grow on pretty much any planet and immediately start looking for a scrap. They are big old British geezers who, in a galaxy full of war, love nothing more than a good fight, essentially making them the only people having an all-round good time in the grimdark far future. Also, for whatever reason, the green fellas have the ability to practically wish things into existence. They fly around on technology that just shouldn't really work, as it's just pieces of scrap cobbled together, but because some orcs thought it would work, it just did. That just goes to show you, the lovely viewer at home, that belief in oneself is the most powerful thing of all. Isn't that nice? A shame the orcs aren't actually all that nice, unlike our next entry in the Tau. The blue, noseless people with hooves are the youngest faction in the galaxy, having only developed spacefaring technology in around the last 2,000 years. They have the least amount of territory, and yet are still considered a player in the galaxy at large due to their impressive tech and diplomacy that has a lot of other races being friends with them. However, the fresh-faced bovine blues aren't exactly the most popular among the fanbase for a few big reasons. First, there's the whole greater good motivation of their society, which rules the Tau to serve the people at large rather than themselves. A lot of people look at that and go, haha, communism, fair enough. Or because of the Tau's adoration for mech suits, they go to the other side of Asia and call the Tau players weebs. Most of this criticism stems just from memes, but the genuinely worst sin of the Taus is in their weaponry and tactics, as those gutless cows prefer sniping foes with ranged powerful attacks rather than getting into the good old blood and guts of melee. While the Tau stay mostly away from the glorious art of personally ripping an opponent limb from limb, our final faction perhaps engages in it the most of all. The Tyranids are a race of bug-like Xenos that definitely don't look anything like another franchise's aliens, and they showed up in the Milky Way having allegedly hailed from another galaxy. So far, they're looking like one of the biggest threats to the 40k universe, as all they want to do is destroy everything. They come in all shapes and sizes, with some Tyranids better for skirmishing, while others can take out tanks without much care. Whether it be small or big Tyranids attacking your home though, you can guarantee they will arrive in huge numbers. They're not here to settle or conquer either, instead seeing the Milky Way as an all-you-can-eat buffet. They pick planets clean of biomass and won't be stopping until they fill their endlessly empty bellies. So, there you have it. All the major players in Warhammer 40k, and a little bit of a look at what they are and what they're doing. Want a part 2 where I go into detail on the different branches of the Imperium's forces, the Genestealer cults and other smaller factions? Let me know. I've got a few other shorter content ideas that can cover some vast topics in a few minutes, so I think that's what I'm going to work on for the time being. Anyways, I love you. Bye.